Welcome to www.happynumbers.org. Today's lesson, ratio and proportions, and today we're going to focus on proportions. But just a quick review. When we talked about ratios, we said ratios compare two numbers. So this is 3 is to 4. 3 is to 4. The colon means is to. 3 is to 4. Or we can write, this is a ratio, and we can write the ratio this way. 3 is to 4. Well, now a proportion. A proportion is two equal ratios. Two equal ratios. And this is a proportion. 3 is to 4 as 9 is to 12. Now the way you read this is 3 is to 4 as 9 is to 12. Or we could write it this way. 3 is to 4 as 9 is to 12. And there's an interesting thing about proportions that allows us to solve problems. If we cross multiply, in other words, if we multiply this numerator times that denominator, and if we multiply this denominator times that numerator, we'll get equal answers. So 3 times 12 is 36. 4 times 9 is 36. So if you cross multiply in a proportion, you'll get equal answers. Well, let's take a look. Let me see if I can find my eraser here. I don't know where I put, oh, here it is. Let's take a look at just naming some proportions first, and then we'll do some problems with them. Let's take this one. So if I asked you to state this proportion in words, you would say 6 is to 12 as 9 is to 18. Okay? Let's put this one up. Okay, this would be 14 is to 20 as, whoops, let me put the as there, 7 is to 10. So that's how you read or say a proportion. Take a look at some problems here. 5 is to 10 as 20 is to 40. Now, if this proportion is correct, everything on this side, if we write it like this, 5 is to 10 as 20 is to 40, 5 is to 10 as 20 is to 40. Okay. Now, let's take a look at this one. Blank is to 4 as 6 is to 8. Well, now sometimes we're going to have to try and figure out what one of the numbers in the proportion. But we can say, well, let's make believe this number is x. Well, then we can write the proportion x is to 4 as 6 is to 8. Now, one thing we know about proportions is that if we cross multiply If I multiply this and this and this and this, they'll be equal. So if I multiply 8 times x, I get 8x equals 4 times 6 is 24. And now I have an equation, and this is multiplication, so I know I would divide by 8 and divide by 8, and I would get x equals 8 goes into 24 3 times. So we've solved for x, and x is 3. So our proportion now is 3 is to 4 as 6 is to 8. And we can always check that to see if we're correct by writing 3 is to 4 as 6 is to 8 and cross multiplying. Well, 4 times 6 is 24. 3 times 8 is 24. So when we solved for x and found out that it was 3, that was correct. Let's take a look at another problem here. Let's try this one. Blank is to 4 as 18 is to 12. Well, let's put a variable here. Let's say y. We can use any letter to represent that unknown. Okay, y is to 4 as 18 is to 12. Well, we can cross multiply. 12 times y gives us 12y. So we get 12y. And now 4 times 18, well, let's put 18 times 4. 4 times 8 is 32, carry the 3. 4 times 1 is 4. So 12 equals 72. And now I have a simple equation. This is multiplication, so I divide by 12, and y equals, and 12 goes into 72 6 times. So we've solved our proportion, and y is equal to 6. So now our proportion becomes 6 is to 4 as 18 is to 12. And if we wrote it this way, 6 is to 4 as 18 is to 12. And we multiplied 4 times 18, we'd get 72. And if I multiplied 6 times 12, I'd get 72. So I know that my solution is correct. Well, let me give you a couple of problems here to solve. Let's try this one. 1 is to as 4 is to 20. 1 is to some unknown as 4 is to 20. Well, go ahead and put your DVD on, pause, and work that problem, and then turn it back on and we'll see how you did. Okay, well, let's let W equal that. Doesn't matter what letter you use. So we have 1 is to W as 4 is to 20. Now I know I can cross multiply, so 4 times W would give me 4W equals 1 times 20 would be 20. I have a simple equation. I divide by 4, divide by 4. This cancels out. W is equal to 4 goes into 20 5 times. So we've solved, and we've said W is 5. Let's put W back into our proportion. 1 is to 5 as 4 is to 20. Let's see if that's so. 1 is to 5 as 4 is to 20. 5 times 4 is 20. 1 times 20 is 20. So our solution is correct. Excellent. Put another problem up for you. Let's try this one. 9 is to 12 as 15 is to some unknown number. Well, go ahead, put your DVD on pause and solve that, and then turn it back on again and we'll see. Okay, well, let's put an unknown in here. Let's just put x. Doesn't matter what letter you use. Well, we know if we cross multiply, we can solve this. So 9 times x would give us 9x is equal to 12 times 15. Let's do that here. 12 and 15. 5 times 2 is 10. Carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 5 and 1 is 6. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. So we get 180. So 9x equals 180. Divide by 9 and divide by 9, and we'll get x is equal to 9 goes into 18 two times, so it'll be 20. So we have x is equal to 20. Well, let's try one more before we finish here. Let's try 14 is to 7 as blank is to 5. 14 is to 7 as some unknown is to 5. Put your DVD on pause, work that, and then turn it back on and we'll go over it. Good. Well, let's just say we let this be b, and again you could use any letter, it doesn't matter. Well, 7 times b would give us 7b is equal to 5 times 14, let's do that here. 5 times that is 20, carry the 2, 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 70. 7b equals 70. We divide by 7 and divide by 7, and we get b is equal to 10. Well, excellent. Excellent. That's what is proportions. Quick review. A ratio compares two numbers. 3 is to 4, or we can write it 3 is to 4. A proportion compares two equal ratios. 3 is to 4 as 9 is to 12. And we know that if the proportion is true, if we cross multiply, our answers will be the same. Our products will be the same. Remember, product is the answer, whoops, to a multiplication. So 4 times 9 is 36, and 3 times 12 is 36. So this is a true proportion. Good. Well, next time we're going to do some proportion, but we're going to do some word problems using proportion so we can solve some actual practical problems in the real world. Thank you very much.